YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with another NFL offseason plan video. This one for the Seattle Seahawks. Doing this video for every single NFL team going in draft order. So a lot of these already on the channel. You can check them out. Plenty of other NFL coverage throughout the offseason free agency, the NFL draft. We got you covered. 2 channels. We have a newer channel, the Goat House Plus. You'll find a link down below. Please subscribe to that. That would help us out a bunch, trying to get the subscriber rate to match on both channels. Follow our Twitter and Instagram. You're going to want to do that for the Combine for sure. Always talking football, NFL draft, and posting things, answering any questions. So you're going to want to follow those links down below. And then we actually have a podcast now that we just started, so looking to add more to that going forward. We're currently on Spotify and being reviewed for Apple Podcasts, so that should be up on there soon. And just search the Goat House Podcast. And then on our Patreon, which you'll find a link below, the podcasts are in video form. So, and that's along with some other extra content on the Patreon, of course. The first thing I like to do in these videos, so for the Seattle Seahawks, kind of break down their depth here. Guys in red are free agents. In this video, I play GM. I'm going to make some moves throughout free agency here and even do a 7-round mock draft as I play GM. So looking at the offense, I mean, the main thing here is getting Russell Wilson some better protection. I mean, look at all the top-tier quarterbacks, the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. What do they all have in common besides Russell Wilson? They've always had, for the most part, really good protection. And, I think last year was a big step up for the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, the 2018 season. But then, this year, there's a lot worse in the NFL. So don't get me wrong, it's not terrible. But you really wish it was a lot better and see some free agents there. But really, you can get better in almost any position. Dwayne Brown's a heck of a left tackle, kind of aging a bit. But pretty much almost, I believe they're all right at center. But really everywhere else, they could get better. They added Greg Olsen to Will Dissly. Will Dissly I like a lot, just keeps getting injured. Kind of the same situation with Greg Olsen. So, they got a pretty good trio, perhaps, but another spot where you could get better. Obviously, set at quarterback. Love the running back, room if it's healthy. Looking at defense, some key free agents there. Overall a good defense if you got everyone back, everyone healthy. You could get better in some specific spots, like the pass rush spot, maybe cornerback. I do like the corner duo. Shaq Griffin, Trey Flowers. I like those guys. Just maybe not a whole bunch of depth there. And then hopefully Ugo Amadi could step up in their important nickelback position. So we'll see what I have in store for them for this offseason. Making some cuts, just one. Starting off with $59.7 million, going into making cuts, and just going to cut Ed Dickson, an aging, declining tight end, which they no longer need. $3 million, bump it up to $62.7 million. It's a lot of cap space. That's a good situation for the Seahawks. A team that's a contender for sure. And they have a good amount of cap space, as being a contender. The downside is they do have quite a bit of free agents of their own that we're trying to re-sign here in all defensive line, really. Jadeveon Clowney, I am re-signing. I'm a big fan of Clowney's game. I think he's getting better as a pass rusher. I almost think he's good enough right now. People will look at the sack numbers. Yeah, you wish they, he had a little more sacks. Wish he could stay healthier, I guess. But constantly getting pressure, facing double team, elite in the run game. I think he's a factor. It depends on the price, but still, I'm willing to pay him a lot of money. I like Clowney a lot. Jaron Reed, who was suspended early in the year, came back and was solid like he always is for them. But, you can't really judge him off last year because maybe it took him a little bit to get going after facing the suspension. I think he's a heck of a interior defense lineman and a good young talent. Quentin Jefferson really stepped up for them. One of those underrated players from last year, throughout the whole league. Won't show up big time in terms of stats, but constantly getting pressure from the interior, sometimes lining up at nose, sometimes in the 3 technique spot. So I thought he was pretty key for them, really. So I think it's a bad situation if they lose both Reed and Jefferson. They're both interior defense linemen, but 2, in my opinion, different type of defensive linemen. We even seen Jefferson out at the end opposite of Clowney at times. So I think it's pretty important to get, at the very least, one of those guys back. But you see, in terms of re-signing players, the whole D-line here, and that's going to take a bit of cap. So it's a good thing they got quite a bit of cap. And then major signings in free agency here. Joe Thuney would be great. Multiple teams will be after him. But you see here is just kind of solidifying the offensive line. This team's a contender. Really, as it sits, it's a contender because you have Russell Wilson, you have some other pieces. But, I mean, to be at the top of that list of contenders, in my eyes, solidify the offensive line. Posich isn't working out too well. Unfortunately, former center tried to move him to guard. And then Fluker on the other side, too. I mean, he had an off year last year as well, but you can kind of make it with him. But getting Joe Thuney, who's one of the better guards in football, I think you automatically just up that offensive line. But right tackle is also a hole as well. And Jack Conklin's a guy that I don't really like for a lot of teams. I kind of think maybe he's a little tad bit. He's not talked about a whole bunch, not hyped up that much, but tad bit on the overrated side. I think he'll get overpaid a little bit. But there are some teams that I really, really like him for, the Seattle Seahawks being one of them. They like to run to open up the throw, the play action. And I think that's it's similar to what the Titans do over there. And I really like Jack Conklin for the Seahawks over there at right tackle. And then Mackenzie Alexander, I kind of mentioned that. The nickelback position is a pretty important position in the Seahawks defense. They lose Justin Coleman. They're kind of trying to find that true slot corner, and there's a shortage on him. It kind of proved throughout the season here with the Seahawks were trying to find that guy. Ugo Amadi is a solid young option, but still not proven. You can get better, so kind of get a proven, slot corner there, Mackenzie Alexander from the Vikings, and that'll make that secondary that much better. People talking about they need corners. I kind of like their corners on the outside. I mean, yeah, they could get better there, but, I think it's more important to find that true, proven slot corner in this veteran team, a contending win-now team. You don't want to mess around with young guys that might be good. You're winning now. You're trying to win now. So Alexander would be big time in that secondary. And then we move on to the 7-round mock draft. In the first round, I grab a guy that I really like. I like the talent of Terrell Lewis. We bring back Jadeveon Clowney. They drafted L.J. Collier last year. I liked L.J. Collier as an early second-round guy, but I actually liked the pick at the time because where I had him positioned, L.J. Collier, if you remember, if you're with us in the draft, I had him at a 3-4 end or a 4-3 technique at the defensive tackle position, but I did not have him as an edge rusher in a 4-3, and that's where they tried to play him, so that kind of confused me. Maybe they'll let a guy like Quentin Jefferson walk and kind of let L.J. Collier kind of play that role. But to me, he's really not the starter as an edge rusher. Terrell Lewis reminds me of Clowney a little bit, a guy that can rush from on the ball, hand in the dirt, step off, can rush even from the inside, standing off the ball. So I love this guy's talent. I love his talent. The downside of Terrell Lewis is he does have some injury concern. But in terms of talent, he's easily a first-round pick. Need another weapon. I love the receiver duo, but they need another weapon. Denzel Mims, who I think is much better than the 59th pick, was there, and adding him, making maybe the best trio in football, which is very important in today's NFL. And you want Russell Wilson's going to be great no matter what, but you want to get the most out of him, obviously, make your chance a little better to win the Super Bowl. I think they need a left tackle of the future. Dwayne Brown, not too many years left. I think about 35 years old and had the injury at the end of last year, but we see how important he is as a team. Prince Tega Wanago from Auburn, I think, could be that future left tackle. I think that's an important position to find, is that really their future left tackle. Another guard, like I said, they could be replacing Fluker in the near future. Bredesen from Michigan. They did a great job. That interior offense line did a great job run blocking for that team this year. And then a cornerback depth is pretty important. You got your starters for right now. Like I said, you can get better, but it's not top priority. You just really need depth on the outside. Miles Bryant from Washington there could be a good pick around 136. Not a whole bunch of draft picks, but you see how the top two are instant impact players. So we'll see what they do. Maybe they'll be too afraid to take an edge rusher in the first round again, but I didn't have L.J. Collier as an edge rusher. I thought he was going to provide some good pressure, some good pass rush from a 3-4 end position in that, if he got drafted by a 4-3 team, which he did. I figured it'd be kind of a 3 technique. So that confused me. I think a good football player still can get better. Curious to see what they do with him. But, main thing is getting your defense lineman back. But, making sure Russell Wilson has that time. We see some teams that are pretty good that only can get so far because their offensive line, and the Seahawks are kind of one of those teams, but get a little extra, a little further because how good their quarterback is, how good, their running back group is. This past year, they missed those guys, and having guys like Bobby Wagner obviously out there and, Clowney, and that's why they kind of take that extra step But still, the offensive line, I think, really limits them when it's all said and done in this past year injuries. So you want Russell Wilson to be the best he can possibly be. And what is that? That's elite. That could be the best player in football at any given time in a Super Bowl. So that's pretty important for the Seahawks here. And I really think with this offseason, they can take that next step and be that Super Bowl champion, really, for sure a contender, obviously, but take that next step and make it more likely. So, again, doing this for every single NFL team going in draft order, so a lot of them already on the channel, just a few more to get through. Full NFL coverage at the Combine coming up, going to cover that fully, recaps on here on the channel, but live coverage as much I can, kind of recapping 40s right after they happen, or big drills on Twitter and Instagram, so you're going to want to follow those. And then subscribe to both of our channels there. You'll find the links for all that down below, our podcast as well. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.